Hey there. So is it ever possible to use time-restricted eating in a manner that isn't disordered eating or doesn't perpetuate an existing eating disorder? So I know some of you will have heard the expression time-restricted eating because it's become trendy to talk about things like intermittent fasting and supposedly it being of health benefit to eat within certain time frames. But for anybody that's got an eating disorder, that can potentially be very triggering and can further restrict the way we engage with our food and trust our bodies to eat at a time and in a way that is appropriate for our recovery. And I was having a recovery call session with somebody a couple of nights ago, and we were talking about the fact that she'd been advised that she should eat within particular windows for her breakfast, her snack, her lunch and her dinner. And then she was finding that she would almost feel quite alarmed or panicked if it got close to that time window ending and she hadn't yet prepared her food, and that she'd then find an excuse that actually if she had to be continuing to work during that period of time and had missed the opportunity to eat in that window, then naturally it meant, oh well, I'll skip that meal altogether. And also it made me look back and reflect on some of the very, very early days of my eating disorder and how I began to know I was becoming poorly mentally. Was I started to restrict by timing. I started to tell myself that I'd only got this set window in the day in which I could have breakfast, have a snack or have dinner, and that I must be finished by a certain time in order to go to bed hungry, effectively. And all those things were the eating disorder creeping up slowly and forming a part of my life and my behavioural patterns. So do I think you can use time-restricted eating in eating disorder recovery? No, not really. I think it's important to have in your mind, particularly in early stages of recovery, that perhaps you do want to try and get in a number of meals and a number of snacks, and you may even on paper or just in your own mind you may want to think about, okay, so roughly what time would breakfast want to be, roughly when might I want to fit in a morning snack and a hot drink to keep myself going, and when in an ideal world might I want to have my main evening meal, and when might I want another snack before I go to bed. But when that comes into a point of being a regime and really quite harsh and restrictive, then actually what it could do is more harm in terms of the eating disorder. So very happy to discuss that as an issue for those of you out there that are wondering whether you need to be much more regimented around when you're eating, or indeed when you're supporting somebody else in eating. But what I would say is, for anybody that's even on that cusp of disordered eating around time restriction, you're on dangerous territory, and what we all need to be doing is trusting our bodies around when is a good time to eat and when our bodies are hungry. And when we start messing with those hunger cues, then we are tipping towards a mental health illness, which will take us a long, long time to recover from. Okay, take care.